trying and not getting won't feel as bad as not trying and not getting. And this is something that, it's hard to really accept this because there's a lot of fear when it comes to the idea of trying. You might fear being seen trying, to be seen in, your cringe, or to be seen taking something seriously, as I've mentioned in another episode, or to be seen potentially failing at something you're trying. But I will say, from my own experience, and also, the things I've read and heard from other people as well, there's so many videos on YouTube of people in, their older age or on their deathbeds talking about how they just have a lot of things they regret not doing. Trying something and not getting it is not going to feel as bad as not trying it at all, because you only have yourself to blame at that point, And of course, you might do something, you might attempt something, and it won't work out. And so you'll still be angry, you'll be upset, but at least you tried. Now, sometimes you might try something and the way you do it might be the reason why it doesn't work out. And that's a shame too. But that just gives you more opportunity to try again, to do it again. And of course, this is so much easier said than done. It's scary, it's embarrassing to try and not get. But I will say it's in that trying process that the resilience you need to live as a person and also to get the things you want, that's where it's built. That resilience is necessary. And I don't mean resilience as the same thing as suffering. Those two are different things. Suffering is not necessary. Sometimes it'll happen. Life is often a lot of suffering, and we have to learn to deal with it, unfortunately. But I don't think you have to put yourself through suffering because that's just what you have to do to grow. No. I do think, though, that resilience is something that is built through suffering, but also not through, unnecessary suffering. It can be built through you putting yourself through situations where you have to face embarrassment or cringe or being seen, vulnerably. I don't think those equate to suffering, but they're uncomfortable, sure. But when you try, or when you don't try and you don't get, you can't blame anybody else. There's nobody else to blame. At least when you try and you don't get, you can at least say, you know what? Okay, I put all the effort I could into this. Maybe I just don't have the skills yet. The skills can only be developed if you keep doing it. So it's not really about you. It's just time, practice. I see those as external things. The only thing that you can do is just try. You're the catalyst to those things, right? Or you try and you didn't get it because somebody else stood in the way of that, or your circumstances prevented it. It's not really about you at that point. So you can't really, you can somewhat externalize the result, right? It doesn't have to be about you, your worth, your value, whether you're good enough. It doesn't have to be about any of that. We might internalize it that way, sure. I'm not saying that that's not common. It is. But at least you can also have the option of thinking, you know what? I tried. I did my best. I have to learn a little bit more, or the circumstances just didn't work out because of things that I could not control, because there are many things we can't control. But to not try, and to then also be disappointed when you don't get something, you really can't be disappointed. You don't have the luxury then to be disappointed, the privilege to be disappointed by not getting something when you don't try. And that, I think, should be enough of a reason for you to start trying. This is what I use for myself too. If I don't get the thing I want, whatever that might be, I really have to have a conversation with myself and say, okay, if we don't get this, you can't complain about it because you didn't try. You don't have the privilege to complain about something that you didn't even try towards within your means, within your tools, within, your circumstances. Because again, everybody's circumstances, everybody's privilege in life is different. Everybody's abilities are different, of course. I'm saying within what you have specifically. If you don't at least try as much as you can, whatever that looks like for you, you really cannot complain if you don't get what you want. It doesn't mean you will get what you want if you try. I'm not saying that at all. Nothing is guaranteed. But you can't complain if you don't get it because you didn't even try. If you try, you can at least complain a little bit about it after. That's fine. You have the luxury, the privilege to complain about it afterwards. But if you don't try and you don't get it, it's going to feel so much worse because you are realizing in that moment, it's you. You are your own worst enemy. You are, the mountain is you, as Brianna Weiss says in her book. It's you. You are the person standing in your own way in the scenario. So you really don't have anybody else to blame except yourself. And so when you realize that, because you will realize that, it'll make you dislike yourself. It'll make you not trust yourself a lot, which will then affect your entire life moving forward. Because if you don't trust yourself, if you don't like yourself, you don't have self-worth, you don't have self-trust, what are the chances that you're going to then try to do this thing now? that you're going to encourage yourself to do this thing or believe in yourself that you're capable of it. You're not. So it becomes a cycle of self-sabotage after that, because you're not showing yourself that you even trust yourself. You can't trust yourself to do the thing you need to do, to push past the fear, the insecurity, the embarrassment, the cringe, the fear of being seen. You're not willing to do that for yourself. So why would you trust yourself? Ultimately, this is a journey within the relationship you have to yourself. You're learning how to relate to yourself and how to build that relationship of trust and, loyalty. If you don't have that, of course, you're not going to do the things you need to do. And so that'll make you feel even worse about yourself. And then when you feel worse about yourself, you don't do what you need to do. Of course, it becomes a cycle. You lash out at yourself, at other people. You devolve into a version of you that you don't want to be. And and you feel it. You know that that's what's happening. And this doesn't make you a bad person. It doesn't make you, awful, wrong, inherently bad. Like, it's just the way we learn, or how we've been taught to relate to ourselves. It can be really hard. If you've only ever seen people in your life who don't do things and then don't get things because they don't do things, that's how you're going to also be. Not because you're not smarter or more capable. It's just that that's what you've seen. That's all you really know. And that's part of life. And that's just how we're raised as people in communities. But ultimately, you will feel the deep dissatisfaction because of that. Because you have nobody else other than yourself to say, I didn't even try it. How can I be angry at not getting something if I did not even try it? It won't feel as bad to have tried and failed. I know it from the outside, having not tried yet and not failed, you're probably thinking, no, that's crazy. Of course it's going to feel bad when you try and you fail. It'll be more disappointing. I know it seems that way. It won't be. It won't be more disappointing. It'll be less disappointing, because the feeling you get about yourself when you try, the belief you develop in yourself, the resilience, the ability to trust yourself, to see yourself attempt something, even though you're scared, even though you're uncomfortable, even though you're risking vulnerability, that is so much more powerful and impactful than not seeing that. Being able to see that of yourself, to watch yourself, to show yourself that you're willing to do that for you, for what you want in this life, it's such a different experience. That alone actually becomes sometimes the best part of it, whether or not you get the thing that you want. That's why I said in another previous episode, the practice is the point. Trying is a form of practice. You're just practicing it. And so the practice becomes the point, because the outcome you're looking for is in the practice. It's the resilience, it's the skill, it's the self-trust, it's the proof of your belief in yourself. All of that is what you're actually looking for. When it really comes down to it, it's the relationship you have with yourself, building it, being able to be self-assured. That's where it's built. It's in the trying, in the practice. So even if you're to try and not get, it won't feel as disappointing, because you'll realize after you do it, and maybe you have to do it again and again, you'll realize it's not really about the outcome. The outcome's great. We do want a specific outcome, sure. But it's not really about the outcome. It's about how I feel about myself trying to get this outcome. Because you might try to get an outcome in ways that are not aligned with you, in ways that have nothing to do with your values and morals. That won't feel good either if you get that outcome. It won't feel good. It might feel good temporarily, sure. And everybody's different. I'm not saying this is like, everybody has different experiences, of course. What I'm saying is, from my own experience, you can do things that will secure a specific outcome, but those things might be not aligned with who you want to be as a person. You just know, like, okay, if I do this, I'll get to what I want to get to. That won't feel good either, because you're not really trying from your authentic self. You're trying from a version of you that maybe you've been taught to be, or you think you should be. That won't feel good either. You're not really trying at that point, because it's not really you. There's no vulnerability there, really. Because it means that you're maybe not challenging yourself in the ways you need to build that relationship you have with yourself. So that won't feel good either. But not trying and not getting, that's maybe the most disappointing part of it. Because you're not even trying. You're not showing yourself that you're willing to be there for yourself, to do the hard thing for yourself, to show up for yourself, that you believe that you're even capable of it. By not even trying, you're saying to yourself, I don't even think you're capable of getting it. I don't even think there's a glimmer of hope that you could get something. That's so sad to say to yourself. That's so sad to see yourself prove to you by not doing the thing you need to do, not trying, right? So of course you're going to ruin your self-trust and your self-worth. That's going to be way more disappointing than if you were to show up, do the thing, be uncomfortable, be in it, and realize, okay, but you know what? I believe in myself a little bit. Like there's a part of me that really sees the potential here. And so when you're on the journey, whether or not you get to that thing, you'll at least know this is how you feel about yourself. You'll know the truth about how you feel about yourself. That is the most valuable thing to experience in any sort of journey. The belief in yourself, the feeling of trust with yourself, of knowing that you have your back, that you will attempt something that you want. You're not going to leave yourself hanging. You're not going to close your hand and not allow yourself to receive, because that's so disappointing. That's so painful to know that you're not even open to receiving because you're scared, you're uncomfortable, which again, understandable, of course. Life is scary. Things are uncomfortable. But to also not be able to rely on yourself, to just try, is so painful and very sad. And there's a lot of grief to that. And so I think the thought of experiencing that grief later on in life is enough for me to push myself to try. And I think should be enough for you to do that too. And not to say that your life will be awful or whatever. Again, there's no black and white here, but I'm just saying that if you could think years ahead and consider this thing that maybe you're scared to try, if you could think, okay, if I don't do this, I know I'm going to regret having not done it, even if I don't get it. If you can really say that to yourself, if you can believe that and know it, even if you're still scared, it means you have to try. There's no way around it at this point, because you know what you're going to experience. You know how you're going to feel. You can already probably feel it. But of course, the fear, the ego is probably getting in the way. You have to kind of move through that. There's no way around it. You have to push through it. Because again, the long-term pain that you're going to deal with, the things you're going to make yourself feel about yourself in the long run are not worth it. You're going to chip away at your self-worth, your self-trust, the relationship you have with yourself. That's not worth it. That's not worth the fear of embarrassment or cringe or whatever. It's not going to be worth it. I promise you. Again, I'm not a psychic. I'm not whatever. But from my own experience, looking back on some things now that I wish I had tried sooner, or I wish I had tried in general, it's not worth it, because I've now had to reprogram these beliefs about myself. I've had to heal these wounds that I could have just healed back then. Now, obviously, everything happens in life in the way it needs to. I think a lot of the things that we do or don't do, they teach us something. So there is always something, I think, to gain from these things. But that's the thing that I've gained from that, is realizing that I wish I had tried back then, because at least then I wouldn't have these core wounds now that I'm dealing with about how I see myself, about what I think I'm capable of doing, that I'm still having to heal and work on. I would have already started working on them back then had I just tried. So now that's what I do all the time. And it's scary. It's uncomfortable. I'm not saying that I'm now past the fear of any of this. It's still there. It probably will always be there. It kind of has to be, right? Because then you wouldn't be brave if there wasn't fear involved. But now I tell myself, I know I'm going to, if I don't get this and I didn't try, I'm going to be so angry with myself. And it's not going to be fair to me to be that angry with myself. I shouldn't be putting myself in a position where I'm that angry with myself because I didn't try, because I was just scared to try in the moment. It's not respectful to my future self to do that. And we should be respectful to our future self. We should be considering our future selves just as much as we consider our present selves. So the comfort we have right now, the feeling of, I don't want to try this. It's going to be hard. It's going to be scary. Yeah, it will be. I know. And it sucks. And also there's no way around it. And you have to do that because you know what it's going to feel like in the future. We already know. We probably can look back at past things that we didn't do, like I said, and feel that and understand it. And so if you already know, if you've already seen it, what makes you think you're not going to feel the same way? So ultimately, trying, even if you don't get it, will be more impactful and more enjoyable than not trying and not getting. In the moment, not trying will feel safe. It'll feel comfortable. But in the long run, it won't. But in the moment, trying will feel scary, uncomfortable, but in the long run will feel so much better, even if you don't get the outcome. And also, you might get the outcome. And how exciting is that? There's a possibility of it. And the irony is that by not trying, then you're already deciding there's no possibility because you're not trying. But with trying, even if you don't get it, there is still a possibility, because that possibility can only be born through the act of trying. So it's through trying that you create the possibility. It's not that there's a possibility beforehand and then you have to try. Does that make sense? I hope this was helpful. I hope it gave you a perspective on this. I hope it encouraged you to try something that you've been scared of, that is something you deeply want, even if you don't get it. I think it'll really establish a healthier relationship with yourself to do that. If you want to hear more from me, follow me over on Substack, where I write a lot of essays about topics like these in more depth and more detail. Follow me on Instagram, TikTok for my short form content. And if you want to have a chat with me about these topics, feel free to book a call with me over on my website. Other than that, thank you for being here, and I'll be back again soon with another episode.